I want to talk about problem solving, and I want to talk about it from the perspective of how we frame problems, because the way we frame problems dictates not only these solutions that become apparent to us or the tools for navigating this particular issue, but also the amount of agency we grant ourselves for solving the problem. Too often our responses to problems rob us of both agency, that is an independence within the problem, but they also remove a lot of the cornucopia of solutions that might be available to us simply because we have stated or framed the problem in a certain way. Let me use an example that is common to everybody. I, like everybody else, occasionally have times when it is difficult to fall asleep. And I'm not talking about people who have, let's say, a clinical issue such as insomnia or some other sleep malady that is beyond the scope of what we're discussing. I'm simply discussing those periods in your life where, for some reason, you are out of kilter. Something's gone wrong with the timing of your sleep cycle. Something has gone awry that is keeping you awake. Everyone is familiar with the fact that this is frustrating, it is annoying. The frustration brings with it anxiety. That anxiety in turn causes further problems and delaying of the sleep cycle. So the emotions you bring to bear on the problem actually make the problem worse. They in no way contribute to what possible solution you could find. I approach this problem in a different way. I approach it from the mechanism of reframing. That is, I take the problem and I put it in a different bucket. And by putting it in a different bucket, a new range of alternatives and emotional responses become available to me. I'm not cloistered or locked in by what I perceive to be possible. And I'm not locked in because my emotions are not locking me into a particular way of thinking that might make things worse. When these annoying events happen with me, I simply reframe. And this is the thing I want to talk about, is this notion of reframing the problem. So with something like not being able to sleep, ordinarily you could lay there, toss, turn, get yourself agitated, get annoyed, make the problem worse. I changed that perception of the environment in that I ask myself a few questions. I say, am I comfortable? Well, hell yes, I'm horizontal in a very comfortable bed. Am I warm? Certainly am. So I'm now warm and comfortable. I've downregulated part of that anxiety that comes with not being able to sleep, because I've now started to build a positive frame around it. It doesn't instantly mean the problem goes away. There are other steps. For me, these steps are, okay, I'm warm, comfortable, I now have time. Because at night you have time, the world is still. Your phone's not going to ring, the door's not going to knock, people are not going to annoy you. Okay, I could do something with that time. What could I do? Well, I have a telephone full of podcasts I can listen to and begin to drift whilst listening to one of those. There are meditation applications for phones. I could fire up one of those. I keep a metronome on my phone. And what I do is I set that to be barely audible through my headphones, and I set it to a count that is slightly slower than my heartbeat. And I let my own rhythm begin to match that. But there's something else to be gained from that. And that is that because the night is still, you get to experience something you don't experience during the day. And that is this notion of stillness, this notion of quiet. The rest of the world is asleep. You're awake. Now you can view that as a problem, or you can view that as an opportunity. And you bring things to bear on the problem that turn it into an opportunity. Now let me turn that around and put it within the context of trading. Perhaps the most annoying thing and distressing thing for traders are losing trades. Losing trades occur for a variety of reasons. The first and most obvious is you might not have a system. You might, perhaps to be technical, be simply pulling trades out of your arse. Something you read on social media, something you heard, a feeling you got in your water. It is inevitable and obvious that that losing trades would occur, and B, that is the occurrence. If you have a trading system, if you have a plan, well then losing trades are a learning opportunity. Yes, they can be expensive. That just happens. And the learning moment comes from the fact that you're collecting data on what is occurring in real time with your system. So it could be that your system is slightly out of kilter with the phase of the market. You might be making very simple technical mistakes. For example, you might be entering what is simply a counter trend bounce and a downtrend, and you're caught by the prevailing trend. That's easy to fix once you have the data. So your losing trades are telling you something. It could be there's something wrong with your stop placement. Many traders believe that if you have your stop jammed right up against price, then all you'll ever do is make tiny losses. Yes, that's true, but you'll make thousands of them. And you will never really get the chance to experience those big winning trades that pay for all those little losses because you've been thrown out preemptively. It could also be that the losing trades are simply a function of the way the system works. Whenever you have any form of activity that has a series of outcomes, and let's assume that all trading outcomes are binary. You either win or lose, like tossing a coin. If I were to toss a coin enough times, I would say get a prolonged string of heads or tails. That's got nothing to do with the intrinsic character of the coin or the way it's being tossed. That is simply to do with effectively the ecology of the way numbers unfold in very, very, very large data sets. It is inevitable that will happen. So you have an opportunity to reframe. You can reframe the losing trades, not so much as the market's out to get you, even more self-destructive, that you're an idiot, that there's something wrong with what you do, you can never do this. You can reframe it as a learning moment. You can reframe it as the market saying to you, look, I'm now providing you feedback on your performance. And what you need to do is to find out which part of your performance can be improved if needed. But in addition to that, I may just be providing you feedback on the way markets work. And so again, it's a chance for you to reframe and say to yourself, well, markets work in a certain fashion. If I'm to be successful at this and to have any degree of longevity, then I need to, in some way, shape or form, come to terms with that. I need to come to terms with the fact that in my career, I will take hundreds, perhaps thousands of trades. And along the way, I will get a cluster of losses. That cluster has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the system. It has nothing to do with the market itself. It has everything to do with a simple natural occurrence. Again, we come back to the notion of coin toss. It's nothing to do with the way you toss the coin. It's nothing to do with the coin itself. It is simply a function of very, very large data sets. So the way you frame a problem, the wrapping you put it in, dictates your emotional response. Your emotional response in turn dictates and governs not necessarily the degree of rationality you will bring to solving the problem, well, that's an important component, but it will definitely put forward certain solutions and opportunities to you. If your responses are purely emotional, then the range of responses that you have available to you are very, very limited, and they're very, very primitive. If your response is reflective, then all of a sudden a new universe of solutions opens up to you, and you're not constrained by these simple, very, very primitive responses. And reframing works in any manner of problems, not just with everyone's sort of ubiquitous problem in trying to get to sleep at some stages, not only with trading, but with all other problems that you might actually encounter in your life. If you combine reframing with pausing, you all of a sudden have a modality and methodology for solving problems that most people never really actually get close to.